The fast-paced world of social media has us scrolling relentlessly, has us posting incessantly, has us chasing virality. But what if we worked harder on our character than we did on our content? I see people announcing they're starting a YouTube channel, but I actually think that doing the opposite is where the real power is. Proverbs 14:23, that it says, all hard work brings profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. In this episode of the Think Media podcast, we're going to be talking about 3 big ideas and some essential scriptures that every Christian business owner and Christian content creator needs to know. And I believe that this episode will be encouraging and challenging and will ultimately help you grow your channel faster, your brand faster, your business faster. Now, this episode is also brought to you by expandgodskingdom.com, but a little bit more on that later. That's our updated class for Christian content creators. It's in the show notes, but let's dive into big idea number 1. Your long-term brand is more important than short-term money. Proverbs 22:1 says, a good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. You know what is a brand? Ultimately, a brand is just a name with a story attached to it. When you think about the name Henry Ford, you think about Ford Motor Cars. Now, Ford is a brand name, but it all started from a visionary and an innovator and a builder creating something that established that brand. When you think about Ralph Lauren, that's a name associated with fashion and clothing. When you think about the name Bernie Madoff, you think Ponzi scheme, scam artist. All the good that he did in his life, if any, you forget about all of that. And what is remembered is his name. What's his brand? Scam artist. And one of the most important things we should be considering as content creators is what is the brand that we're building online? What is our personal brand? What is our business brand? What is the story that people think about when they think about us? Now, if you're just starting, people aren't attaching a story to your brand yet. But here's the challenge. You get to write that story. Every decision, every video, every social media post actually is adding up over time to the cumulative brand that you're building. And Proverbs 28:2 says this, a trustworthy person will get a rich reward, but a person who wants quick riches will get into trouble. So I think the Bible would encourage us that your long-term brand is more important than short-term money. It's much more valuable to have trust and integrity over time, and we will be richly rewarded, as opposed to chasing short-term money, quick riches that ultimately lead us into trouble or tearing down our brand. People ask, how long does it take to build trust? Trust could take months. It could take years. It could even take decades to build substantive trust. How long does it take to destroy trust? One action, one moment, one night, one event. Proverbs 28:20 says, committed and persistent work pays off. Get rich quick schemes are ripoffs. And Richard Branson said this, your brand or your name is simply your reputation. You have to fight in life to protect that as it means everything. Nothing is more important. So what does this mean practically as content creators? I think 1, not doing brand deals and sponsorships that you don't believe in. 2, chasing trends just for views as opposed to you actually caring about the trend. 3, doing partnerships or collaborations with people for clout alone, looking past maybe values or beliefs or things you don't align with when it comes to that individual. 4, things that seem too good to be true. Getting excited about people that are promising big, but not doing your due diligence and research and fully vetting the relationship, the vendor, the software, the tool. A good name is more desirable than great riches, and a good name, a strong brand, takes years to build. And I think that this is not just about what are you avoiding so you don't hurt your brand. It's also what do you want to be known for? What do you want people to feel when they watch your content? What story do you want to be told about you, about your business, about your ministry, about your church? ultimately, you, in partnership with God and the Holy Spirit, have a chance to write that story. Your decisions, your choices, your actions, your content, your words, your collaborations, your relationships, all get added together to make up your brand. And I think one of the principles that we can apply to this big idea of your long-term brand is more important than short-term money is the challenge to work harder on your character than you do on your content. The fast-paced world of social media has us scrolling relentlessly, has us posting incessantly, has us chasing virality. And all of those things are the activities that a content creator engages in. But what if we worked harder on our character than we did on our content? Remember, Proverbs told us a trustworthy person gets a rich reward. Who's a trustworthy person? A person that follows through on their word, a person whose yes is yes and whose no is no. And one of the things that I find fascinating is that consistency is actually an attribute of strong character. Think about somebody in your life that has strong character. They're dependable. They're consistent in their encouragement, in their attitude, and their emotions. You can count on them to be present. You know, one of the things that's disruptive for children, if there's inconsistency at home, inconsistency in is dad going to be mean or nice when he comes home from work? Inconsistency, is dad going to be sober or drunk? Inconsistency. The opposite would be consistency. The person continues to show up. They continue to deliver. Think about this in business. The person continues to make a promise, deliver on their promise, follow up, deliver support. There's consistent interactions with that business. Now let's apply this to YouTube. Are you being consistent? One of the attributes of strong character is being consistent. Did you make a promise on your YouTube cover image on the banner and say new uploads every week? And if we go to your channel and we see that the last upload was 3 months ago, that's inconsistency. Now listen, relax. You're like, Sean, you're stepping on my toes. You're calling me out. You might have gone through a season and we all have challenges. But if you want to be taken seriously and you want to build a strong brand and you want to build a strong online business and you have the audacity to want to work from home and do this full time, there's something about understanding that consistency is an attribute of strong character, about having a consistent message, having consistent values that show up in your content, following through on your promises. I promise you I'm going to create this product or this service or this membership site or this Patreon, and I'm going to keep showing up and keep following through with consistency. Number one, big idea. Your long-term brand is more important than short-term money. Have you made an offer or a promise, or you stretched yourself, but then you realized you couldn't follow through later? In Luke, Jesus gave 3 examples, and he said, why would someone set out to build a tower without first assessing if they had enough money and resources to complete it? They would only get halfway done, and then people would laugh at them when they were halfway done. There's something about being disciplined and diligent and protective of your name, of your brand, because your long-term brand is more important than short-term money. Big idea number 2, say less, do more. What do I mean? Proverbs 14:23 says this, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Have you ever had a friend or a family member who talks big but does little? Maybe you have somebody that you know that's like always talking about what they're going to do, the dreams that they have, things that they're going to accomplish, things that they want to try. You know, ultimately, if you're just hanging out with friends and just talking about dreams and just kind of passing some time, that's fine. But I find it fascinating in Proverbs 14:23 that it says hard work, all hard work brings profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Like you could talk about going to your actual job, but if you don't actually go to your job and work hard, then you don't get a paycheck because you didn't show up to work. And so mere talk means you don't get paid, whereas taking action and putting in the work means you do. And so I feel like this verse tells us, don't just talk about it, be about it. Actions speak louder than words. Say less and do more. One of the things that's funny about social media is announcement posts. I see people announcing they're starting a YouTube channel. They do a little text post, post it on Instagram. They go on X, they do a post, this is what I'm thinking about doing this quarter. They go to Facebook and they make an announcement. Now, do whatever you want, but I actually think that doing the opposite is where the real power is. Like, don't tell anybody about what you're doing. Just go do it. And don't publicly proclaim anything. Just go do it. Here's why. Because if you make a proclamation, I'm starting a YouTube channel, I'm starting a weekly show, I'm starting a video podcast, and then you don't follow through, you can count on me for every week. It's when Jesus said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. It's just being careful with the declarations we're making. And if you don't say it, I know that saying it could produce some accountability and you're trying to hold yourself publicly accountable, but there's just something about saying less and doing more. Rather than taking time to make the announcement post, go start building your YouTube channel. Don't just talk about it, be about it. And scripture even reveals that talking about it can sometimes be harmful. In Genesis 37, Joseph's mistake was talking about his dream with the wrong people. Joseph, whose dad gives him this Technicolor coat, also has some dreams that eventually his family and his brothers will be bowing down to him because he'll be in a place of rulership and they will be in a place of ultimately in servitude of the authority and the position that he's in. So he tells his family about his dream. The dream made it sound like Joseph was going to rule over his family. And guess what happened? His brothers weren't pumped and excited about his dream and his future and this aspiration. And this is so cool. Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. No, his brothers became angrier. They were already mad that he seemed to have a little bit of favoritism from his father. They got even madder, angrier, and they didn't like his dreams. What's the principle? Don't be surprised if you don't get affirmation and encouragement when pursuing your dreams. Don't be surprised if you make declarations about what you're going to do and people don't support you. They might be insecure. They might be jealous. They might doubt your ability to pull it off. They might want to protect you from disappointment. They've got good intentions. But here's the problem. If it's authentically your dream, if it's something that's truly on your heart, if you say, man, I'm sick of this job, I'm sick of this corporate 9-to-5, I'm sick of this boss that I hate, I'm sick of my current circumstances in life right now, I want to work from home, I want to tap into the creator economy, I really care about my mission and my cause, and I want to build a YouTube channel, I want to reach more people for my nonprofit, I want to do this thing, I've got this aspiration, I've got this dream. All hard work brings a profit. Start building. But mere talk leads to poverty. Sharing with others might not lead to the support that ultimately you're looking for. And some good-intentioned people that ultimately want to protect you from disappointment may speak words of death into your dream. This is an area that you got to personally process because, of course, getting feedback and being surrounded by people that can help you see your blind spots is a powerful principle that can protect us from going down a path we shouldn't pursue. On the flip side, there's so many stories of people who nobody around them saw the dream, saw the vision, as is often the case for visionaries. And if you're listening to this, you probably are one. You see a vision that people don't see. Leaders see more and they see before. I heard John Maxwell say that. They see further. They see things other people don't see. Don't be surprised when you see the possibility on YouTube, the possibility of passive income, the possibility of growing. You're starting to understand the algorithm. You're seeing the opportunity with content creation. And then you talk about it with your spouse and they don't see it. It's a vision that you've seen. It's a picture that you see, so you got to be careful. It's like when Mary said she pondered these things in her heart. There were certain things that were happening supernaturally in her life that she didn't necessarily talk about with everybody else. I just want to encourage you, big principle number 2, say less, do more. All hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads to poverty. And the bottom line is that if you have a dream, if you have a vision, if you have a desire to step out, step up, and to build something, to do this thing, then ultimately just get to work and start doing it. Which brings us to number 3, slow and steady wins. Here's what Proverbs 13:11 says. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gains little by little will increase it. So there's not a lot of people that are shouting down the preacher for this verse in a 2024 world. We're living in a world of viral success, of seemingly overnight success, of stories we see on social media of hyper growth companies, of all of these different people around us that we could compare ourselves to and get discouraged by, when ultimately ancient wisdom from King Solomon and the book of Proverbs says that if we're gaining wealth with haste, we read a few verses earlier about get rich quick schemes, that wealth will dwindle, but that ultimately whoever gathers little by little will increase it. My experience after being on YouTube for 17 years has taught me that this is true about building a channel as well, that you can go viral with one video, but still not ultimately build a career and ultimately go full-time on YouTube. That you can have 15 minutes of fame on social media, but not build an actual legacy or a viable business. There's something about building little by little. There's something about one video at a time, getting 1% better with every upload, adding to your skill set one skill at a time with marginal but continuous improvements that leads to massive success over time. And Proverbs 20:21 says, an inheritance obtained too early in life is not a blessing in the end. Which scenario would you rather have? Would you rather gain your inheritance early, wealth, fame, prestige, your YouTube channel's blowing up, but at the end of your life or 5 or 10 years later, it was all gone and behind you was a trail of ruin? Or would you rather have not a lot of fame, not a lot of money, not a lot of success in the first 3 years, 5 years, let's say even 10 years? How about 15? How about 20? What if you had 20 years of obscurity? Let's say 20 to 40 years old. 20 years of some impact, you survived, but no crazy fireworks in your life, in your business, in your YouTube channel. But then from year 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70, with medical treatments and healthcare, 70 to 80, 80 to 90, you're flourishing more than ever, and you have lifelong success, impact, legacy. Great things take time, and great things take patience. This is a mentality that I think keeps us anchored. This is a spirit-filled mentality. This is a biblical mentality. Slow and steady wins. You see it everywhere. You see this backside of the desert, 40 years Moses being developed before he ended up going and being the deliverer. You do see wandering in the desert for 40 years. A lot of people perished, but ultimately Caleb and Joshua had to wait, and then they got to go to the promised land. You see even Jesus himself having a pretty low-key life. Not a lot that we have recorded about his early life, besides when he was in the temple at 12, and then boom, he's 30 and his ministry starts. This is developmental years where he's probably working as a stonemason or a carpenter, just doing the small things well, just being consistent, just building up his character, building up his skills, growing in wisdom and stature, being in that season where it feels lonely and you're not being seen and you wish it was growing faster and you wish the results were coming faster. But friend, slow and steady wins, and wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. It's almost like God knew, because he does know, that for us to be able to steward and manage the potential wealth and prestige and fame and awareness and significance that can come our way on the other side of building a successful YouTube channel could crush us. Because if we gain it hastily, it'll dwindle. We might break. An inheritance gained too early in the beginning won't be blessed in the end. But if we grow it little by little, there's another verse talks about that's how they took the promised land, little by little. And if they cleared the promised land too quickly, then the wild beast would come back and would eat your family. You look that one up later. You don't want your family to get eaten by wild beasts. You want to grow little by little. And Galatians 6:9 says this, let's not get tired of doing good, because in time we'll have a harvest if we don't give up. So I want to encourage you, don't get tired in doing good. Your long-term brand is more important than short-term money. Say less and do more, and slow and steady wins. And if you've liked this episode of the podcast, I think you're going to love the free class that I just recorded at expandgodskingdom.com. It's about a 90-minute class where I talk about my system for success growing a YouTube channel, but I also tie it into a lot of scriptures, Bible verses, as well as hard-won strategies and tactics that I've learned in my career of getting 3 silver play buttons, a gold play button, growing multiple channels. And so it's entirely free. It's at expandgodskingdom.com where you can watch that class on demand. And I'm also curious, if you do watch the video version of this podcast, smash like and leave me a comment of your takeaways or any questions you have, maybe as a Christian content creator or business owner that you'd like me to cover in future episodes. If you listen on audio, the best way to give feedback is to rate and review the podcast and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. If you want to leave a review and fire off a question or a topic, I do review those, so I would love to connect with you there as well. And I also want to encourage you, check out the playlist of other episodes in this series for Christian content creators and Christian business owners. We'll also link that up in the show notes. My name is Sean Cannell, rhymes with YouTube channel, and I can't wait to connect with you in a future episode.